My fiancé laughed and said, "Just so you know, my money's off limits even after marriage." I smiled. Then I slid the ring off her finger and walked out of the prenup meeting. A week later, she was at my office in tears, saying she'd thought I was joking. Hey viewers, real quick, only 8% of you watching are subscribed, and the channel's kind of stuck right now. If you enjoy these stories, hitting that subscribe button would really help us keep going. Thanks. 2 weeks ago, I found out exactly how my fiancé viewed our upcoming marriage. Still can't believe how fast everything unraveled, but the warning signs were probably there all along. Sarah and I had been engaged for 8 months, together for 3 years total. Met her through mutual friends at a barbecue, hit it off immediately. She was smart, funny, gorgeous, and seemed like someone I could build a life with. Proposed last summer at the beach house her family rented every year. The wedding was supposed to be in 6 weeks. We'd already sent invitations, booked the venue, ordered flowers, the whole thing. Sarah had been planning every detail for months, talking about colors and centerpieces and seating charts constantly. I figured that meant she was excited about getting married. Turned out she was excited about having a wedding. Getting married was apparently a different story. Sarah works in pharmaceutical sales and makes about $130,000 a year. I teach high school history and make $48,000. She's always been proud of her salary and financial independence, which I respected. Never had any issues with her making more money. If anything, I thought it was great that we'd both be contributing to our future together. That's why what happened at the prenup meeting caught me completely off guard. Sarah had insisted we needed a prenuptial agreement because of the income difference. Made sense to me. Protect both our interests, make sure everything was clear and fair. We each hired our own lawyers to represent us separately and negotiate terms. The meetings had been going on for 3 weeks. Standard stuff about protecting assets acquired before marriage, how we'd handle joint purchases, what would happen if we ever divorced. Both lawyers were working together to create something fair for both of us. We scheduled what was supposed to be the final signing meeting for last Tuesday afternoon. Sarah's lawyer had incorporated all the agreed-upon terms. My lawyer had reviewed everything and given approval. Pretty routine finalizing of details we'd already negotiated. Walking into that conference room, I thought we were just putting signatures on a document that protected both of us fairly. Sarah seemed relaxed and confident, joking with her lawyer about wedding stress and honeymoon plans. Her lawyer started going through the final agreement page by page. Asset protection, debt responsibility, property ownership, all the legal framework for how our marriage would work financially. Sarah was nodding along, looking satisfied with how everything had been structured. Then we got to the section about joint financial decision-making for major purchases during marriage. This had been something my lawyer insisted on including. Language about purchases over $10,000, requiring both spouses to agree. Standard marriage partnership protection, nothing unusual. Sarah's lawyer had agreed to it weeks earlier without any objection. But when her lawyer read that section aloud for final confirmation, Sarah started laughing like she'd heard the funniest joke ever. "Wait, hold on. Just so you know, David, my money's off limits even after marriage. I'm not giving you veto power over how I spend my own salary." I thought she was making a joke about the formal legal language. "What do you mean off limits?" "I mean my salary, my savings, my investment accounts, all of it stays under my complete control. I'll pay my share of household expenses, obviously, but major financial decisions about my money stay with me alone." Her lawyer looked confused. "Sarah, we discussed this provision 3 weeks ago. You approved the joint decision language for large purchases. I approved it for his purchases, not mine." My lawyer spoke up. "Mrs. Patterson, the agreement applies to both parties equally. Neither spouse can make major financial decisions unilaterally." "Then change it. My money, my decisions." The room went quiet. Both lawyers were looking at each other like they'd never encountered this before. "Sarah," I said slowly, "we're supposed to be partners. That's kind of the point of getting married. We are partners. I'm just not giving anyone else control over money I earned. I'm not talking about control. I'm talking about making decisions together as a team. Same difference. What I do with my salary is my business." She was completely serious. No joking around, no negotiation, just a flat declaration that the agreement we'd spent weeks creating didn't apply to her money. So let me understand this, my lawyer said. You want Mr. Harrison bound by joint decision requirements, but you want complete freedom to spend your money however you choose? Exactly. I've worked hard to get where I am financially. I'm not letting anyone else dictate how I spend what I earn. Sarah, that's not what marriage partnership means, I said. That's what this marriage means. Take it or leave it. The room went dead silent. Sarah was staring at me with this challenging expression, like she was daring me to object to her terms. Both lawyers were looking uncomfortable with how this was playing out. Take it or leave it. 3 years together, 8 months engaged, 6 weeks before our wedding, and she was giving me an ultimatum about something we'd supposedly already agreed on. I smiled at her. That's an interesting way to look at marriage. I'm glad you understand. I understand perfectly. I reached across the table and gently slid the engagement ring off her finger. Sarah's eyes went wide with shock. What are you doing? Taking your advice. I'm leaving it. David, what are you talking about? I stood up and put the ring in my pocket. If you want complete financial independence from your spouse, you should probably stay unmarried. Makes everything much simpler. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You just announced that you want marriage with separate finances and no joint decision-making. That's not a marriage. That's an expensive roommate situation. David, sit down. We can modify the agreement. There's nothing to modify. You made your position very clear. Your money is off limits, even to your husband. I respect that choice. I didn't mean it like that. You meant it exactly like that. And now you get to keep your money completely separate from anyone else's input. Sarah looked panicked. David, please, let's just finish the meeting and discuss this privately. The meeting's over for me. You've made it clear what kind of marriage you want, and it's not the kind I'm interested in. Her lawyer finally spoke up. Mr. Harrison, perhaps we should reschedule when everyone's had time to reconsider. I don't need time to reconsider. Sarah was very clear about wanting financial independence even after marriage. She should have that. I walked toward the door. Sarah was still sitting there looking stunned. David, you're being ridiculous. Come back and let's work this out. Work what out? You said take it or leave it. I'm taking your advice. I didn't mean literally leave. When someone gives you an ultimatum about marriage, sometimes they get an answer they weren't expecting. I left the conference room and drove straight home. Spent the evening calling vendors about cancellation policies. Since we'd split all the wedding costs 50-50, I could cancel my portions without Sarah's consent. Lost about $8,000 in non-refundable deposits on my half, but that was fine. Sarah called about 2 hours after I got home. David, what did you do today? Started canceling my portion of our wedding expenses. You what? Canceled my half of the wedding, since you don't actually want to be married partners, seemed like the logical next step. I do want to be married. I just want to maintain some financial independence. Complete financial independence. Your exact words were that your money is off limits even after marriage. I was being dramatic. We can compromise on this. There's no compromise position between joint decisions and off-limits money, Sarah. Yes, there is. We can set higher thresholds or create exceptions or something. You said take it or leave it. You weren't interested in compromise 30 minutes ago. She kept calling throughout the week. Left voicemails about how I was overreacting, how we could work through this, how she hadn't meant it the way it sounded. But I'd heard exactly what she meant. Sarah wanted the social status and security of marriage without actually being married partners. Word got out pretty quickly about the canceled wedding. Sarah's friends started calling, asking what happened. I told them the truth. Sarah had it announced at our prenup signing that her finances would remain off limits even to her husband, and I decided that wasn't the kind of partnership I wanted. Most people were shocked. Apparently, Sarah had never mentioned her financial independence philosophy to anyone else either. Her maid of honor called me 3 days after the prenup meeting. David, Sarah's telling everyone you called off the wedding because you wanted control over her money. That's not what happened. I called off the wedding because she announced her money would be off limits to her husband. She said what? Word for word. Her money's off limits, even after marriage. Take it or leave it. In front of lawyers? In front of both our lawyers while we were supposed to be signing the final agreement. No wonder you left. I would have done the same thing. By Friday, Sarah's own family was calling to ask what had really happened. Apparently, she told them I'd gotten controlling about her finances. I explained what actually occurred at the prenup signing. Her mom called me Saturday morning. David, I'm so sorry. Sarah never mentioned anything about keeping her money completely separate after marriage. I didn't know about it either until Tuesday. That's not how we raised her to think about marriage partnerships. I know, Mrs. Chen. You guys have always been great examples of teamwork. Is there any way you two can work this out? Not unless Sarah changes her fundamental view of what marriage means. She's been calling us upset all week. I'm sure she has, but she made her position very clear. Her money is off limits, even to her husband. The following Tuesday, I'm teaching third period when the school secretary comes to my classroom door. She whispers that I have an emergency visitor in the office and need to come immediately. I get to the office and find Sarah sitting in the waiting area looking like she'd been crying for hours, wearing sweatpants and a wrinkled shirt, hair in a messy ponytail, just completely disheveled. David, thank God. We need to talk. Sarah, you can't just show up at my school. This is my workplace. You won't return my calls. This was the only way to reach you. There's nothing to talk about. You made your position clear at the prenup signing. I was wrong. I was scared about losing my independence, and I said things I didn't mean. You weren't scared. You were honest, and that honesty showed us we want different things from marriage. I don't want different things. I want a real partnership with you. No, you want the social benefits of marriage while maintaining complete financial control. That's not partnership. David, please. I've been thinking about this all week. I was being selfish and short-sighted. You were being clear about your expectations. Nothing wrong with knowing what you want. There's everything wrong with how I handled it. I love you and I want to marry you and build a life together. You love the idea of being married, but you don't actually want to be married to me. The school secretary was trying to pretend she wasn't listening. Other staff members were walking by, glancing at the situation unfolding in the office. Sarah, this really isn't appropriate. I need to get back to class. Then meet me after school. Please, just give me a chance to explain. Explain what? You stood in a room with 2 lawyers and announced that your money would be off limits to your husband. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was a panic reaction. I got scared about giving up control. And now you don't have to give up control to anyone. Problem solved. David, I'm begging you. Please give us another chance. A chance for what? For you to pretend you want financial partnership until after the wedding? To prove that I do want real partnership, I'll sign any agreement you want. Sarah, you revealed your true feelings about marriage. Don't try to take that back now just because you realize the consequences. My true feelings are that I love you and want to be your wife. Your true feelings are that you want to be married while keeping your money completely separate from your husband. Find someone who shares that view. The principal had come out of his office looking concerned about the disruption. I needed to end this before it became an even bigger scene. Sarah, you have to leave. I'm at work and this isn't appropriate. David, please don't throw away 3 years because of one conversation. I'm not throwing away 3 years. I'm avoiding a lifetime of financial conflict with someone who doesn't view marriage the same way I do. I do view it the same way now. No, you don't, and that's okay, but it means we're not compatible for marriage. She left crying, but at least she left. I spent the rest of the day fielding questions from colleagues who'd witnessed the scene. Most were supportive once they heard what had actually happened at the prenup meeting. That was a week ago. Sarah's been texting constantly about working things out, but I haven't responded. Her friends keep reaching out asking if I'll reconsider, but my position hasn't changed. If someone tells you their money is off limits even after marriage, believe them the first time. Don't wait around hoping they'll change their mind or that they didn't really mean it. Sarah showed me exactly how she viewed our future marriage. as a social arrangement where she'd maintain complete financial independence, while I provided emotional partnership under joint decision restrictions. That's not a marriage, that's an unfair contract. The wedding would have cost us about $24,000 total. I lost about $8,000 in deposits on my half, but $8,000 is a bargain compared to divorcing someone who never intended to be an actual partner. Sarah wanted a marriage where her money stayed off limits to her husband. Now she gets to keep her money completely off limits to everyone. Sometimes people get exactly what they ask for.